Lovers of lore, thank you for joining me for this installment of the Phyrexia All Will Be One story. This part of the story starts with Luca just having arrived on New Phyrexia. Something had clearly gone wrong. Luca could tell as soon as he left the Blind Eternities. The ground here was too wettish. It smelled of rotten flesh, not metal. And the smell was so strong he could actually taste it. Also, the color of this place was all wrong. It wasn't supposed to be so green. Luca realized he was all alone. Figures, he thought, can't trust these others to have a military man's precision. He was surprised he was even invited to be a part of this strike force in the first place. But Jace had explained that Luca's experience would be a boon. And underneath his pain, Luca still loved his homeworld of Ikoria, and he didn't want it to fall into Phyrexian hands. Taking in his surroundings, the overabundant trees, the disgusting metal vegetation, he decided that walking in this mess would never work. He considered his options. Plains walking out would not really work. Trying again would be too risky. Unknown forces had muddled up his first attempt. Would the second attempt be any better? So he decided instead to move across the dense treetops. Perhaps he'd be able to find a beast he could control that would give him a better lay of the land. Luca strode towards one of the trees, which seemed to try and shrink back from him, its leaves curling away into little balls. Luca pulled out his harpoon and with a mighty throw embedded it into the tree. He then used the rope attached to the harpoon to hoist himself up the same way he used to scale cliffs back home. Red mucus dripped from the tree as he was climbing by. When he reached the treetops, he was worn out, but his exhaustion was quickly forgotten when he heard an angry voice call out. A flock of Phyrexian toothbeaks flew into the air, heading towards the source of the noise. Luca swore and yanked his harpoon free, stowing it away. He had to help whoever it was. So he ran in the direction the birds had gone and found two figures, an elf and a human woman, fighting a giant Phyrexian centaur Hulk. Luca immediately recognized Nissa and the Wanderer. The Empress was driving the Hulk back with swordplay, while Nissa channeled forest magic, whipping tons of tiny metallic leaves off of nearby trees. She then forced them into a cyclone of power, and the Phyrexian centaur Hulk was caught and shredded. Luca realized that the two women didn't see the prowling Phyrexian centaur Hulk above them, so he reached out with his magic, which involved bonding with animals. He entered the Phyrexian's mind and felt the beast's essence. He could taste the iron blood in its mouth. The beast above struggled against Luca's control, but that was enough time for Nissa and the Wanderer to finish the Hulk they were fighting off. And then abruptly, the Wanderer was gone. Luca thought it was a weird time to planeswalk away, but he revealed himself to Nissa. Now, Nissa is not a fan of Luca, but he explains to her that he just saved them from another Hulk, and he intends to use it as a guide through the Hunter Maze. Now, Nissa is flatly against this concept. The idea that he would be in any way bonded with the Phyrexian is very troubling for her, but Luca's not worried. He says Phyrexians are only part animal. Their wills are easy to subdue. I've spent my whole life fighting monsters. I can handle this. And then he adds on sarcastically, if it gives me as much as a stomachache, I'll lay waste to it. Nissa stared at him for a long time, clearly considering trying to go it alone. I don't like this. Luca said, I'm a man of my word, clearly irritated at this point. So ignoring Nissa's concerns, Luca plumbed the depths of the Hulk's mind and explains, we head upwards. Nissa looked unimpressed. I could have told you that. They used the Phyrexian as a bridge across the treetops. Luca could feel himself and Nissa walking on the Hulk, a very odd sensation. And also, was Nissa digging her feet in intentionally so he would feel it? After that, they used the Centaur Hulk as a mount to climb upwards along the trees. Nissa refused Luca's helping hand, and his irritation increased. What a ridiculous elf. He could smell her up this close. Her hair smelled like lemons. Did she wash her hair in fruit to prepare for this battle? Luca was a soldier at heart, though, and respected the bonds of allies. The centaur Hulk carried them upwards. Nissa's heels digging into the Hulk ate at Luca's mind. He realized that this was just Nissa's need to hold on for dear life, so Luca pushed those thoughts down. Through the Hulk, Luca could feel the hunter's maze. He pondered what it would feel like to dominate an entire ecosystem. Suddenly, in a burst of light, the Wanderer appeared. Look out! A Phyrexian monstrosity winged its way towards them. Nissa drew her sword, but the monstrosity grabbed her. Luca needed his hands free to fight, so he commanded the Hulk, "Secure me." This had an unexpected effect. Wires burst up out of the Hulk and dove into Luca's body. They wrapped around his spine and bones in an almost comforting way. Not what I meant, but it'll work. Luca pulled out his harpoon and impaled the flying horror with a mighty throw, pinning it to a tree. Oily blood sprayed across him. Nissa stared at Luca in horror. His fusing with the Hulk was nightmarish to her. They continued traveling upwards. Every moment Luca spent in this place increased his wonder. This was a beautiful land. They arrived high up in the hunter's maze, and Luca dismounted from the Hulk. The wires left at his command, leaving no marks or even a drop of blood marring his unbroken flesh. Nissa said, "I can't see the exit," and Luca pointed it out to her. It looked like the opening to intestines. The opening shuddered and heaved and stunk ferociously. It smelled like battle and death. As they traveled in, Luca realized his skin felt uneven. Checking himself, he found tiny Phyrexian suckers rooted in his skin. He hid this from Nissa, feeling guilty since he said earlier he would destroy the Hulk if something bad happened. But this didn't feel bad. It made him feel stronger and more confident. But Nissa wouldn't understand. Only winning matters. These thoughts were interrupted as Phyrexian leeches attacked them. The Hulk stomped on them, Nissa chopped at them with their sword, Luca tore them in half with his newfound strength and surprisingly sharp fingers, and continuing onwards, they found they were actually inside a giant beast when they spotted its teeth. The beast roused, and they ran out of its mouth quickly, but the Hulk wasn't so fast. The beast was swallowing the Hulk. Luca leapt into action, but Nissa called out, "Leave it!" Luca was having none of it. He tore the beast fully in half to save the Hulk. The remaining leeches that were the beast's children scattered. During this encounter, the Wanderer had reappeared randomly, and she was binding a wound on Nissa's arm. "We should planeswalk away," said Nissa, but Luca disagreed. He said, "We've almost reached the center of the maze." Nissa stared at him dumbfounded. "We're trying to get to the surface." Luca's body was covered in leech bites. The wounds didn't hurt, even though they were bone deep. The Wanderer suggests that they should destroy Vorinclex, but before they can take a step forward, the Wanderer disappears. Then Luca and Nissa decide that they're going to make that their mission. They will take out Vorinclex, and as they head into the center of the Hunter's Maze, they encounter no real resistance. But Luca has innumerable voices that are drowning out his thoughts, and he's wondering to himself why Nissa seems so calm. The voices are absolutely impossible to ignore. But up ahead, they spotted their quarry. Vorinclex, the hideous Phyrexian praetor, was locked in combat with a Phyrexian elf that had a giant blade for an arm. It was Glissa. Nissa thought they should leave. Vorinclex and Glissa together would be too much. Luca did not agree. There's two of them, there's two of us. Plus, we have my ally, he said, tapping on the Hulk. After saying that, Luca charged into battle with Glissa, while Nissa faced off against Vorinclex. She wouldn't leave an ally to fight alone. Luca cast aside his weapon and engaged Glissa claw to claw. They both looked exhilarated. They were equally matched. Luca laughed with joy up until he stumbled, and Glissa brought her blade arm around to impale him. But at that moment, he called out to the Phyrexian Hulk for power. "Join me!" And the Hulk melded into Luca's body. His skin split, his rib cage opened to swallow parts of the Phyrexian, and then sealed back together. Luca was now one and was a massive, towering beast human amalgamation. Looming over Glissa, he took a swing at her, but she danced away, moving Luca closer to where Vorinclex and Nissa fought. Vorinclex barked at Luca, "Get the elf!" Nissa looked at Luca, and horror twisted her face. She stepped backwards. Luca reveled in that look. The weak should fear the strong. He lunged at Nissa, but again the Wanderer phases back in and blocks the blow. "Run, Nissa!" she cried, and Nissa took off, fury and fear painting her face. And then abruptly the Wanderer was gone once again. Luca turned to Glissa. Her Phyrexian perfection shone in his eyes. She said to him, "Find the elf, Luca. Do not kill her. Phyrexia has a use for her." Luca loped off in pursuit, while Vorinclex let out a low, triumphant laugh. The hunt was on. All right, my friends, that ends this installment of the Phyrexia All Will Be One story. Come back tomorrow for the next installment. If you love what we're doing here, you can support the channel by joining the channel membership or the Patreon. Big thanks to all the channel's patrons. I will see you all for the next video, and remember, my friends, lore is life.